The water was rising fast, and so was the secret we thought we'd buried forever. My sister and I stood in our childhood home, knee-deep in floodwater, staring at the wooden box floating between us. The same box our father had buried in the backyard 20 years ago. The same box he made us swear we'd never speak about. "We should let it float away," Rachel whispered, her voice shaking. But we both knew we couldn't, because inside that box was the reason our mother left, the reason our father drank himself to death, the reason our family shattered into a million pieces we could never put back together. The storm had torn up the old oak tree in the backyard, and beneath its roots, the box we thought was gone forever had surfaced, like a corpse refusing to stay buried. I grabbed it before the current could take it. It was heavier than I remembered, sealed tight, still locked after all these years. "Don't open it," Rachel begged. "Please, some truths should stay buried." But I was already reaching for the key I'd hidden in my wallet for 2 decades. The key Dad pressed into my hand the night before he died. "When you're ready," he'd whispered. "When you both need to understand." I thought I'd never be ready. Thought I'd die with that key in my pocket, just like the secret in that box. But the storm decided for us. 20 years ago, our mother disappeared. Not died, disappeared. One morning, she was making pancakes in the kitchen, humming that song she always hummed. The next morning, her closet was empty, and she was gone. No notes, no phone call, no explanation. Dad told everyone she'd run off with another man, that she'd abandoned us for a better life somewhere else. He said it with such conviction that even Rachel and I started to believe it. But late at night, when Dad thought we were sleeping, we'd hear him crying in his room, calling her name, begging forgiveness for something we didn't understand. "It's my fault," he'd sob. "God, forgive me, it's all my fault." We were just kids, 11 and 13, too young to understand what was happening, too scared to ask questions. Then one night, 3 months after Mom disappeared, Dad took us to the backyard with a shovel and that wooden box. "We're going to bury something," he said, his hands shaking. "And we're never going to talk about it again. You understand? Never." We nodded, terrified. He dug a hole beneath the oak tree, put the box inside, covered it with dirt, planted flowers on top. "Your mother's gone," he said flatly. "And this is why. But you don't need to know more than that. Promise me you'll never dig this up. Promise me." We promised. And for 20 years, we kept that promise. The lock clicked open, and I lifted the lid with trembling hands. Inside was a stack of letters, yellowed with age, tied with a ribbon, and underneath the letters, a newspaper clipping. Rachel gasped when she saw the headline, "Local woman found dead in car accident." There was a photo, our mother's face, smiling, beautiful. The caption read, "Linda Morrison, 36, killed in single vehicle crash on Highway 40. "No," Rachel whispered. "No, that's not possible. Dad said she ran away. He said—" "He lied," I said, my voice hollow. My hands shook as I unfolded the newspaper clipping. The article was dated 3 days after our mother disappeared. Linda Morrison was found dead at the scene after her vehicle left the road and struck a tree. Police report no evidence of foul play. The accident occurred late at night during a severe rainstorm. Morrison is survived by her husband, Robert, and 2 daughters. But if she died in an accident, why did Dad bury the newspaper? Why did he tell everyone she ran away? I reached for the letters with shaking hands. They were addressed to Dad, all of them, in Mom's handwriting. I opened the first one. Robert, I can't live like this anymore. The drinking, the anger, the lies. I've tried to make this work for the girls, but I can't anymore. I'm leaving tonight. Don't try to find me. I'll contact you when I'm ready. The girls deserve better than this. We all do. My blood ran cold. I opened the second letter. It was dated the same day. I'm at the motel on Highway 40, room 12. I'll stay here tonight and figure out my next move tomorrow. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. Just let me go. There were more letters, but they were never sent. They were all drafts, different versions of the same goodbye. And then I understood. Mom was planning to leave. She'd written the letters, but never sent them. And that night, during the storm, she'd driven to the motel anyway, to think, to decide, to figure out what to do. But she never made it there. She crashed, died alone on that dark highway, and Dad buried the truth because he couldn't live with it. He'd been drinking that night. They'd fought. She'd tried to leave before, but he'd always convinced her to stay. But this time was different. This time she'd had enough. So she left, and he let her go. But then the police called, and he had to identify her body. And he realized she'd died trying to escape the life they'd built together. The life he'd made unbearable. He blamed himself, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Rachel was sobbing now. He told everyone she abandoned us because he couldn't admit the truth, that she died trying to leave him. We stood there in the rising water, holding the box between us, finally understanding everything. Why Dad drank, why he could never look at us without crying, why he buried the newspaper and the letters and made us promise never to speak of it. Because admitting Mom died in that crash meant admitting he drove her away. That his drinking and his anger and his inability to let her go had killed her just as surely as that tree on Highway 40. He couldn't live with that truth, so he buried it. And he spent 20 years pretending she'd chosen to leave us instead of being forced to leave him. The water was at our waists now. The storm was getting worse. We needed to get out. But Rachel grabbed my hand and squeezed. At least now we know. Yeah, I said. Now we know. The truth had been buried for 20 years, hidden beneath dirt and roots and lies and guilt. But the storm brought it back, the way storms always do. They tear everything up, expose what's hidden, force you to face what you've been running from. We left that house carrying the box between us, the truth finally in our hands after all this time. Mom didn't abandon us. She died trying to save herself. And Dad didn't bury her memory out of hatred. He buried it out of shame. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just shows you why people lie. If this story touched you, subscribe and tell me in the comments. Have you ever discovered a family secret that changed everything you believed? I read every comment.